Do you or someone you know suffer from shiny equals good disease? If left untreated, it could lead to poor performance in battles. You're not alone. Thousands of Azur lane players struggle with this every day. But now, there's hope. Scientifically proven. All the best players recommend it. Watch this video today. Here's the outline. Limit break your ships, then math, then don't partially limit break your UR ships, then a real example of Lexington 2 0 limit breaks versus max limit break, and another real example of Mecklenburg at Dev 29 versus Dev 30. Here's why you need to limit break your ships. 0 limit break rainbow ships, that includes ultra rares and decisive rarity. I'll just use UR to refer to rainbow ships in general. They're literally weaker than max limit broken gray ships, common ships. For example, a level 100 0 limit break New Jersey is literally worse than a level 100 max limit broken Nevada retrofit, or Pennsylvania, or any other BB that new players are recommended these days. That's because limit breaks multiply damage and tankiness by a lot. That applies to battleships and carriers and also vanguard ships. The first difference that limit breaks make is in the ship stats. This is especially noticeable for rainbow ships who can go to level 125 even without limit breaks. So in the top row is a 0 limit break New Jersey at level 125, and the bottom row is the same but at max limit break. Fortunately, most of the stats are the same, right? Hit stat and reload stat, and it's only minus 140 firepower, which is the main damage stat. But then we also have to remember that only max limit broken ships can get the effects of fleet tech. For new players, that won't matter that much, but as you collect more and more fleet tech, your max limit broken ships get bigger and bigger buffs. But wait, there's more. A 0 limit break New Jersey has one main gun mount at 120% efficiency, while a max limit broken one has 3 main gun mounts at 150% efficiency. Efficiency is just a straight damage multiplier. This is 25% more damage if you divide 150 by 120. For mounts though, if you have one mount, for example a Mark 6 main gun mount fires 3 shells every salvo, but if the BB has 3 main gun mounts, then it fires 3 shells 3 times every salvo. Does triple damage sound good? Here is some math of their DPS against light, medium, and heavy armor bosses. The difference between Mecklenburg at Dev 29 and Dev 30 is 1 dev level. That's only 60 out of the 513 blueprints that you need from Dev 0 to Dev 30 for rainbow ships, but the performance difference is massive. This is 65 to 70% more damage per second just by getting her from Dev 29 to Dev 30. So that's on the research ship side. But ships who take bulins are also the same. Here's New Jersey at max limit break, over 3000 DPS, while a 0 limit break New Jersey, 1300 DPS. Even at 2 limit breaks, New Jersey is barely better than Nevada retrofit, who's a gray to blue retrofit, the lowest rarity. And actually for 0 limit break New Jersey, the medium and heavy DPS were calculated with the Twin 457, because her main gun damage is such a low part of her damage. Her barrage takes precedence, and that means a faster gun makes her DPS higher. Not that you should ever use a 0 limit break New Jersey. For carriers it's the same. Lexington 2 max limit break does this much damage in 80 seconds, while a 0 limit break Lexington 2 does this much damage. And that is clearly worse than Enterprise, who is a gold ship available to new players in the metal shop in some months. Now, given that UR bulins are very limited, as of January 2026 you can get up to 2.5 UR bulins per month from normal sources, and given that non-max limit broken UR ships are worse than max limit broken SR ships, SR super rare gold, and you may get a newer, better UR ship while you are limit breaking an old UR, then we can conclude that URs are all or nothing. Don't use any UR bulins until you can max limit break a UR, and don't use non-max limit broken URs. This does not apply to lower rarity ships though. You should partially limit break the gold and below ships in your fleet as soon as possible. You also need to be picky with UR bulins. Do not use them on weaker URs unless you want to simp them. And by the way, anyone who recommends picking and maxing New Jersey, Shimakaze, or Ulrich over Musashi from Spark is delusional. I see this a lot on Reddit. Finally, do not build heavy or special banner. Those are permanent banners for UR ships or any other reason. Even if you luckily get a UR from it, you would just get a secretary model because you don't have enough bulins to spare from your new URs. Now I'll use Lexington 2 in a real battle against Yorktown meta. And I know that she's not great against medium, but this is just to show how important limit breaks are. And I'll be comparing medium to medium anyways.
ばにいると私食ウィリアム D ポーター指揮官今のことを見ているとあの長い腕がようやくわかるね時間的にこうした後輩たちが成長していく姿を見ない
Excuse that. As you can see, I have a 3-star Lexington 2, which is zero limit brakes. And because she has zero limit brakes, she can't even use fighters in her third slot, which would have been another LA9 if she could. At zero limit brakes, she has 4 planes, that is 1 fighter, 1 dive bomber, and 2 torpedo bombers, while at max limit brakes, she would have 3 of each for 9 total planes. So let's see how much damage she and the rest of the fleet does.
敵を倒して戻る状態良好そしてハゼロ効果抜群の状態良好行こう効果抜群のナイスこれそしてハゼロ状態良好進めるだ行こうそしてハゼロ進め進めるだ良好効果抜群のナイス進むのだ効果抜群のナイス進むのだ状態良好これそしてハゼロ進むのだダメですよ進め進むのだ状態良好行こう進め進むのだラフィーが倒れない指揮官が待ってるからこれ進めそしてハゼロ進め進むのだ進め進むのだ状態良好行こう効果抜群のナイスアイデア
131,000 damage, very impressive. A common ship could do that much damage. And even all the, or almost all the Vanguard ships did more damage than that. Now we'll do the same thing, but with a max limit broken Lexington 2, everything else will be the same, except the gear actually. So now that max limit broken, and that means she can use a different loadout. Still won the LA9 instead of 2 LA9s because first of all, I don't have 5 LA9s, or I don't want to have 5 LA9s yet. And second of all, this will give a similar timing to what she had before as zero limit breaks. Everything else about the fleet is the same, and the timing is almost the same. So these damages will be comparable with each other. That's 389,000, which is triple of what we had before at 131,000. Triple damage is very close to what my calculations earlier predicted, 89,000 versus 264,000. Of course, the calculations did not include buffs or debuffs from the boss, crits, Kearsarge, and others, and that's why the absolute numbers are different, but the tripling part was consistent with his real battle. I hope that demonstrates just how bad Zero Limit Break rainbow ships are. And finally, we have a recording of Mecklenburg, Dev 29 versus Dev 30. I already spoiled the results at the beginning of the video. Dev 29 did 296,000 damage, and Dev 30 did 490,000 damage, with everything else being the same.
力が一つになったの。